The rain had been falling since dawn, thin and cold, turning the streets into dull mirrors of broken neon lights. Officer Daniel Reyes had been on his feet for 9 hours, responding to noise complaints, minor accidents, and one failed shoplifting attempt. His boots were soaked, his shoulders ached, and the weight of the badge felt heavier than usual. He was just about to return to his patrol car when something small and trembling crossed his path. At first, he thought it was a piece of trash caught in the wind. Then it moved. A tiny puppy, barely more than bones wrapped in mud, streaked fur, stumbled toward him. One ear drooped while the other stood awkwardly upright. Its ribs were visible. Its eyes, too large for its thin face, locked onto Daniel with a strange urgency. "Hey, little guy." Daniel knelt slowly, careful not to scare it. The puppy didn't run. Instead, it limped forward, tail twitching weakly, and let out a faint whimper. Then it did something Daniel had never seen before. It raised one paw and pressed it against his boot. Not playfully, pleadingly, Daniel swallowed. "You're cold," he murmured, pulling off his jacket, but the puppy backed away. Then it turned around and took a few steps, glancing back over its shoulder. When Daniel didn't move, it whined again, louder this time. It wasn't asking for warmth. It was asking him to follow. Against protocol, against reason, Daniel stood and followed the fragile little creature as it hobbled down a narrow alley between two abandoned buildings. The rain muffled the city noise, and the further they went, the quieter everything became. The puppy kept stopping, looking back, waiting for him. As if afraid he might disappear. "All right," Daniel whispered. "I'm here." At the end of the alley, behind a broken dumpster, the puppy stopped. Then it began to cry, not bark, cry, a high, shaking sound filled with fear and desperation. Daniel rushed forward and froze. There, beneath a torn piece of cardboard, was another puppy, smaller, still. Daniel dropped to his knees. The second pup's chest barely moved. Its body was cold. "Oh no, 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 no." The first puppy pressed against Daniel's leg, trembling violently. Its eyes never left the tiny form on the ground. It had led him here. It had begged him. Daniel carefully lifted the smaller pup, wrapping it inside his jacket. He radioed for emergency animal rescue, his voice tight. "Dispatch, I need immediate assistance. 2 abandoned puppies, 1 critical." As he spoke, the first puppy climbed into his lap, pressing its head against his chest, as if trying to keep both of them alive. "You did good," Daniel whispered, fighting tears. "You saved your sibling." But even as sirens echoed faintly in the distance, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the full story. Not even close, because the way the puppy kept staring down the dark alley, it wasn't relief in its eyes. It was fear. Daniel rode in the back of the rescue van, cradling the smaller puppy against his chest, while the other pressed tightly into his side. The little one's breathing was shallow, irregular, like it might slip away any second. Every bump in the road made Daniel tense, afraid he was losing time he didn't have. The first puppy, muddy, shaking, exhausted, kept nudging its sibling with its nose, as if refusing to accept that anything bad could happen. "You're strong," Daniel whispered. "Both of you are." But as they neared the animal hospital, the smaller pup's body suddenly went limp. "No, no, stay with me." Daniel pressed his jacket tighter around it, his heart slamming against his ribs. "Come on, little fighters." The vet team rushed them in. Daniel was told to wait outside, so he did what cops were trained to do. He stood, he waited, and he prayed. Minutes stretched into hours. The rain had stopped, but Daniel didn't move. The first puppy curled up beside his boot, finally too tired to stand anymore. Its eyes never left the door. When the vet finally emerged, Daniel braced himself. The smaller one survived, she said. Daniel exhaled sharply, gripping the wall. But barely. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, internal bruising. They've been through hell. Daniel knelt beside the surviving puppy. It licked his fingers weakly. You saved them, the vet added. If you hadn't come when you did, they wouldn't have made it. Daniel shook his head. I didn't save them, that one did. The vet followed his gaze, and then she frowned. Officer, that puppy has a fractured leg. Daniel's stomach dropped. She walked on it, through the rain, for help. The realization hit him like a physical blow. That puppy hadn't just been scared. It had been in pain, severe pain, and still, it had dragged itself across the city to find someone who would listen. In the days that followed, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about them. He visited every chance he got, bringing soft blankets, toys, and food. The puppies clung to him instantly, especially the first one, the brave one. It followed him everywhere, even with its tiny cast dragging behind. Daniel named it Hope, because that's what it had carried, hope. But one night, something unexpected happened. Daniel was reviewing security footage from nearby streets, trying to understand how the puppies ended up there. What he saw made his blood run cold. A man dragging a sack, stopping near the alley, dumping it, kicking it. Then walking away. The timestamp showed everything. The puppies hadn't been abandoned. They had been thrown away. And worse, this wasn't the first time. Similar reports had come in over the months. Animals found injured. Left to die, always in the same area. Daniel took the case personally. He began watching, waiting, and 3 nights later he saw him again. Same man, same sack. This time it moved. Daniel didn't think. He ran. The man froze when Daniel shouted. He tried to flee, but Daniel tackled him to the ground. The sack rolled open. Inside was a kitten, barely alive. The man was arrested, and when the story broke, it spread fast. A broken puppy that begged a cop for help had led to the capture of a serial animal abuser. People across the city donated supplies. Vets offered free treatment. Shelters filled with volunteers. Hope and its sibling became symbols, not of suffering, but of courage. When they were finally cleared for adoption, Daniel stood in the room, leash in hand, knowing the truth in his heart. He wasn't giving them away, he was keeping them, both. That night, for the first time, Hope slept without trembling, without fear, curled up on Daniel's chest, listening to his heartbeat, safe, loved, and alive. Months later, Daniel stood in a park as children laughed around him. Hope ran, really ran, on all 4 legs, healed, strong, unstoppable, and every time Hope saw a uniform, it ran toward it. Not in fear, but in trust, because one day, when everything seemed lost, a puppy begged, and a life changed.